Good morning. Welcome to Unity on the North Shore Sunday service. If you're joining us virtually on Zoom or watching us later on social media or in the sanctuary, we're glad you're here. My name is Pam DeFilio, and I'm your worship assistant today. Joyce Davidson is our prayer chaplain, and Reverend Kurt is delivering our lesson and meditation. Our musicians are Felina Bunn and Danny Bauer. Now for our opening prayer. Holy Presence, we know that in God we can never be separate from love, from truth, from infinite intelligence, and the source of all good. We gather here in this sacred time to open our hearts and minds to the one power and the one presence. We gratefully receive the energies of divine light and love pouring in and through us, and we affirm we are here this morning for a divine purpose. We trust that the purpose is now being fulfilled, for we know that we are now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. And so it is. Amen. And now for some music from Felina and Danny.
There's a new church on the horizon, made of light, not of stone, calling out to all creation, you are not alone. Lions and lambs, saints and sinners, best of friends, enemies, woman and man, losers and winners, they are all you and me. We are one heart, looking for answers. We're one soul, finding our way through the dark. One dream we share together. We are all a part of one heart. Out in the cold, there are faces hidden by the wind and rain. Hold out your hand, someone will take it, bring you home again. We are one heart, looking for answers. We are one soul, finding our way through the dark. One dream we share together. We are all a part of one heart.
Thank you, Felina and Danny. Unity is a positive, practical approach to spiritual living based on the teachings of Jesus and the power of prayer. We believe in the truth and beauty of every spiritual tradition, and we honor the many paths to the one God. Wherever you are on your journey of faith, you are always welcome here. Our purpose is to create a safe space where people are empowered to take risks and live their deepest truth. If this is your first Sunday with us, we extend a loving welcome. Many of us were surprised to learn there was a spiritual community that thought and believed the same things that we did. It felt like coming home. We hope your experience this morning is powerful and that you'll return. And now, our group song with Felina and Danny.
We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. And we pray that our unity will this day restore. We all, we're a family in our love, by our love. Yes, we're all know we're family by our love. We will walk with each other, we will walk side by side. We will walk with each other, we will stand side by side, and we'll guard one another's dignity and save one our pride. When we'll know we're one family by our love, and we'll know we're a family by our love. All praise to the Spirit from whom all blessings come, and all praise to the Christ and daughter and Son, and all praise to the Spirit that makes us all one. And we'll know we are family by our love, by our love. Yes, we'll know we are family by our love. Yes, we'll know we are family by our love.
Thank you, Felina and Danny. Your music always feeds my soul. Thank you. I am Joyce Davidson. I will be your prayer chaplain today. And prayer, you can pray with me after the service in the back. Those of you online are invited to place your prayer requests in the chat box. Those in the sanctuary will find prayer requests on the back of the seat or in front of you. Join me now as I read the daily word. For Sunday, October 30th, 2022. God is here and I am safe. Once in a while, I enjoy doing things that frighten me. Sharing ghost stories around a campfire, watching a spooky movie, even savoring the uneasy feeling just before thunderstorms come down the first hill. All of these things can feel scary, even though I know I am in no real danger. If I began to feel unsafe in any situation, I remember that right where I am, God is. Breathing out, I release tension. My body relaxes. Fearful thoughts begin to dissolve. Breathing in, I think more clearly. Slowly, I regain renewed strength and peace of mind. My confidence returns as I remember that nothing in the world can prevail against the strength, the wisdom, and the love of God. From Psalm 23, verse 4, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And now we center ourselves and rest in the silence. Now let us hold in prayer all those who are suffering worldwide. We affirm the presence of God's love, grace, and guidance in every person and every human condition. And so it is. We let it be. Amen. And now we return to Felina and Danny.
Say that I'm crazy or call me a fool. But last night it seemed that I dreamed about you. When I opened my mouth, what came out was a song, and you knew every word. We all sang along to a melody played on the strings of our soul, and the rhythm that rattled us down to the bone. Our love for each other will live on forever. And every beat of my proud corazón, our love for each other will live on forever. And every beat of our proud corazón. Oh, my family, listen, my people, sing in chorus, let it be known. Our love for each other will live on forever, and every beat of my proud corazón. Our love for each other will live on forever, and every beat of my proud corazón.
So lovely. I saw that look you gave Danny just now too, Felina. You pulled it off magnificently. So many of you maybe recognize that song. It's from the movie Coco, which really celebrates the Mexican tradition and the Mexican celebration of Dia de los Muertos. And so since that begins this next week, that's kind of the theme that I've built today's service around. We're going to sort of dive in and dig in a little bit to how that tradition is really resonant and reflective of some of the traditions and beliefs that we hold in unity. And a little later on, I'm very excited about a kind of experience that we're creating to allow us to kind of have our own little Dia de los Muertos experience here together as a community and a congregation. So that's what we're about. For those of you who may not be as familiar with the holiday, it's, as I mentioned, it's specifically a Mexican celebration arising out of century-old traditions that was then kind of usurped by Catholicism and then reimposed in a way that was really honoring of the indigenous people in Mexico. And essentially, it's really a beautiful celebration of the ancestors, of those who have gone on and who are in the next realm. And the belief is that by invoking their memory through building these really beautiful and kind of elaborate altars, that the spirit of those who have departed comes back and you can celebrate together, and that oneness of heart that Felina and Danny just expressed through this music is sort of a celebratory place. And that's, I think, so beautifully resonant with what Unity believes about life and about death and about the eternal nature of things. Unity, many of you may know, doesn't really have a prescribed doctrine about what life might look after this, or what life looks like after death in this realm. If you talk with Unity folks, there are a lot of folks who have various beliefs, but generally speaking, there's a kind of collective understanding that truly life doesn't end in this experience, that there is something greater that we move into, some greater experience of life. And a lot of us have very different ideas about what that looks like and how thin the veil is between this side and the next. And it's kind of a wonderful place where we can begin to explore what our deepest beliefs about the meaning and the purpose of our lives are. But there's nothing that's prescribed. So the idea that that death is something that we celebrate is kind of resonant with Unity teachings too. We very rarely do we call our celebrations of, or what was I going to say, like we don't even call them funerals. They are either celebrations of life or sometimes memorial services. But the idea is that we're really gathered together to sort of honor the spirit of those who've gone before and to celebrate the joy that they had brought. Certainly we make space in those to experience the fullness of what grief entails, but our focus is really on remembering and calling forth the goodness that we experience in the lives of those who have moved on. So this Dia de los Muertos kind of experience is very resonant with what most people in Unity kind of believe. I want to talk a little bit about, I ran across an exercise here that I think will help prepare our hearts and minds for what I have in mind later. By the way, this is a very modest kind of altar. In a true Dia de los Muertos experience, it would have food and flowers and photographs and mementos. This is just a very simple with some candles, and marigolds I know was a really big one. That's supposedly marigolds will attract the spirits from the other side, and the smells of their favorite foods will nourish them once they arrive here. So that's sort of in the celebratory part of Dia de los Muertos, that's a piece of what we're wanting to sort of invoke as we move forward in our experience together today. So I was listening to a wonderful podcast by Krista Tippett on Being, and she's talking about this idea of time and the meaning that our lives hold and the impact that we have in this life. And she said one of the ways that we can kind of move into, if not an experience of like eternal or infinite time, but one of the ways we can kind of move into an expansive notion or an more expansive kind of perception of what our life means and what we're here to do is this wonderful exercise where we begin to imagine kind of the 200-year span that most of us experience, or most of our lives sort of physically touch in human physical form. So it's a really cool kind of place. So here's the instruction. So I want you to think about your very, very, very first memory as the youngest child you are, and your encounter with the oldest person that you had known at that time. For me, it was my grandma Lulu, who was my paternal father's grandmother, right? So my great-grandmother. She would have been in her 90s when she passed in the early 60s, which would have meant that she was born in the late 1800s, right? So there's that span of time where my knowing of someone on the planet. And then she says, the next piece is think about the youngest person in your life right now, the youngest relative that you have, and imagine how old they'll be when they are likely to pass. And this day and age, it's not unreasonable to expect or to imagine that they might live 100 years, right? So in my case, I have a niece who was just born last week. So she will live, that 100-year span, she will live to be till the year 2122. Like that just boggles my mind. So my 200-year span, or the time that in my knowing of this human experience, right, of people who I knew directly, extends from the late 1800s clear into the 2120s. Doesn't that just like blow your mind? Like, oh my God, there's So sit with that. And as we move through this morning, the next piece I want to kind of move to is a writing. I'm going to have Kate Jordan, who is a former employee here, and I've enticed her back because when I described for her what we were doing today, she's like, "Well, I'd be interested in helping with that." And so, of course, I put her to work. She wasn't just going to be here and sit. She's coming here to work, but she's going to share a reading from James Dillett Freeman, who himself, Freeman lost his wife when she was fairly young, and he did a great deal of contemplation and thought. He was Unity's poet laureate, a lot of writing on the subject of death and immortality, and so we found one that I think expresses some really beautiful ideas that Kate's going to share with us. So thanks for being here, Kate.
This is from James Dillett Freeman's book, The Hilltop Heart, Reflections of a Practical Mystic. This writing is called Every Person Feels He or She is Immortal. Another reason for believing you are immortal is also a subjective one. It is simply that every person feels he or she is immortal. I do not believe, and I think that psychologists bear this out, that we ever truly feel that we will come to an end. You are an immortal self. Each person knows this. Each person feels this. In our hearts, we do not feel we can be destroyed. Our body can be destroyed. Our mind can be taken from us. But our self, we cannot conceive of this coming to an end. My own experience with the dying has made me feel that body and mind are a kind of bridge by which we cross over into the world and out of it again. By it, we communicate with others on this mind-body plane we call our world. Beyond body, beyond mind, beyond thinking, beyond living and dying, there is the self. My self uses mind and uses body. It lives in and through them. It can withdraw from them. This too I know. When it withdraws from them, it goes back through a door you cannot find, search as you may. Death is a wall that has no opening from this side. My self knows where the door is, but mind and body cannot find it. It is a door in a looking glass kind of world, clear enough, I believe, from one side, but from the other, not there at all. You do not believe such a thing can be. Of course not. How can you? But there it is. Logic is a way of looking at things, and a good way. It works beautifully in a mind-body world. I think it is the slide rule God used in laying this world out. But do not expect it to work in other worlds. It does not even work here for lovers or believers. And I have a feeling, not a particularly logical feeling, but not illogical either, that in infinity there is every conceivable kind of world and every inconceivable kind too. The world is not what we think it is at all. It is infinitely more. If we get to thinking we know all the answers, it only means that we have not asked many questions. The world is stranger and more lovely and more meaningful than any meaning or loveliness we may attach to it. And so are we.
Thank you, Kate. Can I have the book? I want to reiterate one of those. The world is stranger and more lovely and more meaningful than any meaning or loveliness that we may attach to it. And so are we. Isn't that beautiful? Like we are so much more than we even imagine that we are. And what I love about that is that there are glimpses, there are sometimes sort of serendipitous, miraculous unfoldings that remind us that there's a power greater than we might know or fully experience, and it comes together in ways that just sometimes give us shivers, give us goosebumps. And I think I have one of those experiences to share with you today as we prepare to sort of celebrate two of our ancestors who have moved on into this next realm. Let's see, before I go there, you know, we are in a kind of autumnal season here, and I don't mean just about, you know, the physical seasons outside in the environment, but I mean at Unity on the North Shore, I think even as a culture, as a society, as a nation, that we're in a time when we're sort of letting go, like leaves are falling from trees, like familiar patterns and ways of beings have fallen away since COVID, since the last election, democracy. There are so many places where we are sort of in the midst of this autumnal season of really letting go. And you can feel it here at Unity on the North Shore when you walk in the doors. We've been releasing sort of physical stuff now for a while, and so you come in, there's a sense of spaciousness and openness and even kind of an emptiness that's happening. Just like when the leaves are all bare on the trees, there's a certain emptiness that is sort of, it's just a season that we move through as a part of a greater expression of life's unfolding, right? And you can feel that here consciously. And I've had a sense that that's a good piece of the process that we're moving through, that we need to be able to let go of maybe the stuff that we've held on to, the stuff that isn't really serving us in these new ages and these new ways of being together and these new ways of doing church. So it's been helpful, even at the same time that we might have heavy hearts about it at times. But I've also been mindful that there's just as Freeman suggests, there's another dimension to it, right? It's not just about the physical stuff we're holding, but there's sort of an ethereal or there's a spiritual element of holding on to. And I think one of the ways that's, or that at least I've felt about it, and I think because of her role in this community, I think it has an energetic vibrational kind of hold to us too. And so it's been on my mind that we needed to release that needed to be set free in the same way that we're letting go of old equipment that we're not using more and stuff that's been sitting in closets for decades and not being used. That this too is a spaciousness that we need to create. Okay, let me tell you, there's just some really cool ways in which it's come about. So that's been bubbling in the back of my mind that we need to release this. And I guess now it's time to describe what the releasing is. So that brings me to our Dia de las Muertes altar here. In the center of the altar is this lovely box. And in this box are contained the ashes of Nancy Good. Nancy Good was a member of this church for decades. But she also started the prayer chaplain program here. And I can remember going to, when I was being interviewed, she wasn't available, you meet with the board, you meet with the congregation, and she wasn't available for any of the formal meetings. So she took me to dinner at EJ's Steakhouse around the corner, and Nancy was this tiny little woman, maybe 5'2", 5'3", very diminutive woman with a spirit that was immense. And as we sat there, it became very clear to me, her biggest concern was that prayer chaplain program was going to continue in the way that it had been established and with the momentum that was there. And so that's what she was most interested in questioning. And of course, I had experience with the woman who founded it, that Nancy was very close to, the program that's available in a lot of Unity churches. And so that wasn't really an issue for me. She didn't need to be concerned about that. But it was my first experience of this immense power and presence that was kind of a cornerstone of the faith here at the church. So Nancy passed away in 2014. And oddly enough, she didn't make provision for her final resting place. So this box sort of migrated around to a couple folks in the congregation, and it ended up in a shelf in my office, and for many years now has been sort of my guardian angel over the top of the desk. And it just feels to me that it's time. We need to release Nancy into her next expression of the infinite. Right? We don't need to be carrying her around now to the next place, but I didn't know what would be most appropriate for that kind of a release. And I finally had a little bit of an idea that, I know she was deeply deeply loved Unity teachings. I know she'd been to Unity Village for some trainings, and at Unity Village, which is our world headquarters, there are a number of gardens where ashes are scattered, where the remembrances have been. And so I thought, that might be it. That might be it. But I wasn't sure, so I talked around, I asked a few chaplains, and I ended up talking to Cheryl Judice, who is a member here at church and has been for a long time. And many of you will also know that Cheryl Judice is the spouse, the widow of Hecky Powell, who was also a foundational character here at Unity on the Shore. He served on the board. He was a huge supporter of anything that happened with the youth programs. He donated food for all kinds of stuff. Hecky was just a vibrant, wonderful energy in his time here. And of course, he passed away in 2020, one of the first folks who died due to COVID-related symptoms. And so I was talking with Cheryl, and she said, well, you know, she'd been considering what to do with some of Hecky's ashes as well. And she thought about it in a moment, and she said, and you know, and here's a good time for the, actually it'd be the second slide that I have, Terry. So Dia de las Muertes with our altar. So there's a picture of Nancy and of Hecky. And if you look very, very closely, I wasn't aware of this, but Cheryl knew because she has an affinity for remembering birthdays of everybody. But if you look, Nancy's birth date was November 6th. Hecky was born the exact same day in a different year. They shared a birthday, right? And do you know what next weekend is? Next Sunday is? It's November 6th. So, this is where I get verklempt. So, Cheryl and Hecky Jr. and I are taking Nancy's ashes and some of Hecky's ashes, and we will be away next Sunday scattering them at Unity Village, setting them free and releasing us into a greater expression of what's to come. I got goosebumps, and I've told this story I don't know how many times, but it's one of those spaces where I think we see beyond the veil that there is a power greater than us that is sort of moving to orchestrate and remind us that we are part of something that is infinite and eternal, right? And I know this is a beautiful kind of expression because of all the numerological stuff that's come together around us. But it's true no matter what. It's true no matter whose life or whose death we're considering. And so what I want to do is create an opportunity for us to, this is coming to me right now. Those of you who are in the sanctuary, hopefully when you came in, you got one of these cards. Everybody have one of these cards? We're going to use these as a part of our meditation, and hopefully there's a pen nearby. If not, I bet Ruth will. If you raise your hand, I bet Ruth will bring one to you. If you're at home, on screen or on home, I would invite you. This is basically a card that says Dia de las Muertes, and it's something that we would, in years past, we have recorded the folks whom we want to remember, and we've placed them on an altar here. So even if you're not here, you can still sort of call to mind those in your life experience who you want to bless, who you appreciate, who you want to remember in that beautiful way, and record them either in the chat stream, and we can make that a part of what our prayer team is holding in prayer over these next few weeks, or you can just do it on a slip of paper in front of you. Whatever it is that is a way for you to really move into an experience of this Dia de las Muertes kind of celebratory energy, yeah? All right, so we truly are connected in ways that are beyond what we might be able to conceive. And so to prepare for a time of meditation, Danny and Felina have another song from this Coco, the film Coco, and I would invite you to just sort of allow the song to open your heart, maybe in a deeper way, to some cherished memories you have of loved ones that you want to remember.
Remember me, though I have to say goodbye. Remember me, don't let it make you cry. For even if I'm far away, I hold you in my heart. I sing a secret song to you. Each night we are apart. Remember me, though I have to travel far. Remember me, each time you hear a sad guitar. Know that I'm with you the only way that I can be, until you're in my arms again. Remember me.
So into this wonderful reflective energy that Felina and Danny have created for us, I invite you to breathe in deeply, and as you do, shift your attention to your heart. If you can't, feel a sense of openness, expansiveness. And as we move into this exercise of remembering, this meditation of remembering well, sacredly, I would invite you to just allow whatever memories might come forth of loved ones, of family members who have gone on to the next realm. And as their names occur to you, jot them down either on the card, if you're here in the sanctuary, that you've received, or you can enter them in the chat stream, or you can just create a list right there at your desk or wherever you are at home with your coffee. But the idea here is to come from a sense of appreciation and gratitude and love for the gifts that family members and those dearly departed ones who come to mind, to rest in that energy, to know that we celebrate all that they brought to us during their time in this earthly experience while they were with us in this realm. And to know that in the celebrating, in the remembering, that their spirits come alive in us again. And in that aliveness, we have the capacity to celebrate really the power of life, to celebrate the magnificence of every moment that we're able to experience the love and the gifts of those who have blessed us. So I'm going to stop talking now, and I invite you to just let your mind play over memories of the ancestors, those whom you want to remember with sacred fondness, those who you want to invite back into your heart, that we might celebrate the eternal nature of life, and then we might know our immortality. Glimpse it, at least. In the silence, let those memories unfold, and as they do, simply jot down either the name or a quality or a brief reminder that brings you into a space of celebrating your experience with them. In the quiet, celebrate life. So I invite you to breathe in once more. Focus on your heart. to see if there's not one more ancestor peeking through. One more life you want to celebrate. And with that, I invite you to breathe in very deeply. Return your attention to the here and now. And with a sense of openness and love in your heart, I invite you to just bring a smile to your lips. And we close this meditation with a heart and intention to celebrate those who've gone on before, whose lives continue to bless our own. Amen.
Our love for each other will live on forever. And every beat of my proud corazón, our love for each other will live on forever. And every beat of my proud corazón.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Felina. So for those of you in the sanctuary, and this I just had an idea, if you would like to place your cards on our altar, our Dia de los Muertos off altar, what I'm thinking we might do is, obviously we'll hold them in prayerful energy for the next week, but I'm thinking I might burn them and take the ashes to be scattered with Hecky's and with Nancy's when we're at Unity Village next week. So I invite you to bring those forth. If you're online, if you submit them in the prayer request, we will print those out and burn those, and we can include those requests as well. So we have this kind of wonderful celebration of that energy of knowing that life goes on together. Yeah. All right, breathe in, breathe out. This is the time in our service when we move into our offering, celebration of offering. But before that, I want to do just kind of a brief update on our Right and Perfect Home process. We've talked before about the one piece that sort of still needs to be resolved involves the easement across the back of the property, and that continues to be the case. We'll be meeting both with the buyer and with our attorney and representatives this week to sort of finalize our next step on that piece. But I also want to make you aware that those of you who have been here in the church know that the neighbors on Central Street have started a campaign, and they're posting signs in the yard signs that indicate that they're opposed to the Kensington School process. And we have been working on a publication. I don't even like saying PR. It's more of a like informational campaign, because some of, I think, what those fears are arising from and some of the resistance is based on inaccurate information. So there are a number of folks on the board and within the congregation who are really good at communications who have been helping to craft a messaging document that we'll be using to kind of help educate and make sure that people really understand why what we have been affirming all along, that Kensington School is a really excellent candidate for taking over this property, and the qualities that they bring and how those will continue to enhance our legacy. So we've got a messaging document that we will be starting to disseminate in concert with our next steps on the easement stuff. So just, I know it can be a little bit disconcerting if you arrive on Central Street and see the signs, but know that we're crafting our response, and I think it's well crafted, and we'll be able to, I think, reassure the neighbors here that truly all is well. The intention that we've been holding for this process and this sale continues, and we are trusting that in the infinite intelligence that divine order truly is unfolding, and that's what's guiding our process. Yeah. So that's where we are with Right and Perfect Home. We also normally would do a money minute at this point, and as I was coming, I was reading through the Daily Word this week. Thursday's Daily Word was just amazing. It was about sort of bringing mindfulness to the quality of the giving that we bring. So I thought I'd share with you that. Like a child who gives from the heart, I am here to share of myself. I give generously from my unique talents and abilities. All that I give and do is infused with my energy. That's the piece that caught me. Because we've been announcing from the platform that, yes, there are all these ways to give, and you can give. And so for the past couple of years, I've been giving automatically. You know, when I receive my paycheck, I have instructed the bank to just automatically send my tithe. And what I'm realizing is that I haven't really been investing the energy that really is a part of that. You know, when we used to give here at the sanctuary, there was a tangible action that we give, and there was a blessing that happened. And now that's not as conscious for me. And so I would invite you all, as you prepare gifts, however it is that you're providing them, to go back to remembering and feeling how good it feels to be generous, and to know that that's an energy that is expansive and shares and attracts to us, and to really ground yourself into that energy, regardless of whether the gift is ever tangibly given or whether it's given through the mail by a bank or over internet lines, however it is, that the energy that we call into it is actually every bit as important as the actual tangible gifts. So that's our money moment for today. And Pam, if you wouldn't mind picking it up from here.
Muertos is such a beautiful tradition, and I was getting kind of emotional, but I know that it's about celebrating our loved ones, so I'll be doing that Wednesday on November 2nd, Dia de los Muertos. Okay, now is the time in our service when we share our love offerings. Giving is safe and simple. If you're online, there's links and instructions in the chat. There are 3 simple ways to give, mindfully, as Reverend Kurt was saying. You can text the word GIVE to 815-827-6052. You can give online at www.unityns.org, or mail a check to 3434 Central Street, Evanston, or if you're in the sanctuary, just put it in the bowl in the back. Please also consider making a recurring gift through the Tithely app, and that's TITHLE.LY. Or to avoid any transaction fees, you can set up automatic payment through your bank. So now let's bless our giving and receiving together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Amen.
That I need comes to me. All that I need comes to me. The light of love and grace shines upon my face. All that I need comes to me. All that I need comes to me. All that I need comes to me. The light of love and grace shines upon my face. All that I need comes to me.
So much, you add so much to the service. Thank you to the live stream team. And thank you for everyone for showing up in person, online, or whatever way. Your presence has blessed us. We want to thank Vicki and Lori and everyone who helped get our gardens ready for the winter, because the gardens are so beautiful here, and I don't know if we'll be enjoying them in the spring or not, but maybe we will. We have a new mobile app. You can turn on your phone and scan the QR code on screen. And it's a way to get easy access to events, news, videos, and more, and everything Unity on the North Shore related.
Pam, I want to piggyback on this piece. Literally, if you're at home, turn on your phone and scan this QR code. It is so easy. This is really an amazing tool that I think can bring great amount of life and connection to the community here. If you scan it, I'm going to tell you exactly what happens. If you just hold up your phone and take a picture of it, a link will pop up, and you'll press that link, and you can install the Unity North Shore app. The icon looks just like that. See, Unity on the North Shore. I think it actually might ask you a question if you want to replace the Tidely icon with the Unity icon. I would suggest doing that just because it's easier to find. And then you just install it. On iPhones, you'll probably have to put your finger on the little thing at the bottom, or you'll have to enter a password or something, but it will install. And once it installs, what I would say is go to the news feed. You'll see just a couple. It's really easy to use. But if you go to the news feed, everything that's been posted recently shows up there. So what I'm most excited about is a feature called the Prayer Wall. In Unity, our chaplains are amazing at holding in confidence what you pray with and really building a sense of trust around that. But what we haven't really had much access to is the old-fashioned telephone prayer lines, those prayer trees that my mom's Baptist church still does it, right? If you want prayer support from the whole congregation, we just really haven't had a great way to do that. This app provides that. So if there's something you want prayer support for, you can go to the bottom, across the bottom, there'll be a little icon that says Prayer Wall, and you can enter a prayer request. For yourself, for someone else, whatever. You can also click, it's almost like on Facebook when you click the little like button saying that, yep, you'll commit to holding that particular request in prayer, or you can make comments, you can affirm back and forth. So it's a really beautiful way for us to build prayerful connection with one another. That's just one of the features that I'm so excited about. You'll also see on that news feed right now that our prayer chaplains are away at their annual retreat, and there's a beautiful photo album of all the stuff that they've been experiencing at Marytown. So I really highly recommend, encourage in these finding new ways to gather and be together in spiritual community. This one has the potential to be really powerful for us. So don't just, do it. Scan the app, press the 3 little yes, okay buttons, and get online and get connected with Unity North Shore on your mobile device. Thank you. I just wanted to give it a little extra oomph.
Absolutely. And tomorrow's Halloween, so happy Halloween, and remember to buy candy. And that is it. Felina and Danny will lead us with our peace song, and then Joyce will lead our closing prayer for protection.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be our joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And now, the prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. Power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine. Peace be with you. Enjoy today and have a blessed week. Thank you.